All right, you filthy animals, buckle up for the deep dive. Today's target, Disney's Mufasa, the Lion King. We got articles, reviews, box office numbers, the whole damn pride.
The whole circle of life.
You got it. We're going to rip this thing apart and see what makes it tick. You with me?
Let's do it. It's a ballsy move, really. Disney's playing with fire here.
Playing with fire, how so?
Trying to pull off a prequel and sequel in one go? Huh. Think The Godfather Part 2, but with more fur and less cannoli.
Okay, listen to the fancy talk. This movie is swimming in nostalgia.
Oh, yeah.
Donald Glover's back as Simba, Beyonce as Nala.
Green Bay.
And those chuckleheads Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner are still slinging jokes as Timon and Pumbaa.
The dynamic duo.
But hold up, there's fresh meat in the pride, too.
Some new blood.
Tell me about it.
Aaron Pierre as Mufasa. That's some serious casting. And Kelvin Harrison Jr. as Scar talk about stepping into some big paw prints.
Huge shoes to fill.
And then there's Blue Ivy Carter, Beyonce's cub, making her film debut as Kiara.
Nepotism much.
Maybe, but let's be real, it's a marketing goldmine.
Damn straight. Blue Ivy's probably going to rake in more cash than a hyena at a buffet. But let's get down to brass tacks. Is this movie actually good?
No.
Was Mufasa really just some random orphan before he got all kingly?
That's what the movie's trying to tell us. They're really digging deep into Mufasa's backstory. Turns out the dude had a rough start. He wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth, more like a thorn in his paw.
Ouch.
Lost his parents in a flood, got adopted into a new pride, the whole 9 yards.
Tragic.
It's the classic underdog story, except with lions and way more existential angst.
Hold on, so you're telling me Scar and Mufasa were basically childhood buds? That's fucked up. Talk about sibling rivalry gone wild.
It's even wilder than that. Scar, or Taka as he was known back then, had a real messed up relationship with Mufasa, jealousy, resentment, the whole shebang. The movie shows us how these fucked up dynamics shaped them both, how Taka became the backstabbing bastard we all love to hate.
So are they trying to pull a Darth Vader on us? Make us feel sorry for Scar because he had a shitty childhood?
Not exactly. The film doesn't shy away from Scar's villainy. It shows us how his choices, his thirst for power, led him down a dark path. But it also gives us a glimpse of his vulnerabilities, his motivations. It's like, yeah, this dude's a real asshole, but here's why.
Right, because let's be real, Scar was always a shady motherfucker. Speaking of shady, let's talk about this animation style. I've heard some folks are pissed off about it. It's that hyper-realistic CGI crap again, right? The kind that makes you wonder if you accidentally tuned into the Discovery Channel.
It's visually stunning, no doubt. But some critics argue that it lacks the soul of traditional animation. You know, the hand-drawn style that gives characters more personality. They say it's hard to connect with a lion when it looks like it just wandered out of a nature documentary.
I get it. Sometimes too much realism sucks the fun out of it. It's like I can watch real lions tear each other apart on National Geographic. I want my Disney movie to be a little more, cartoony.
Exactly. And there's been some buzz about the music, too. Lin-Manuel Miranda whipped up some new tunes, but some reviewers felt they didn't quite live up to the iconic bangers from the original.
You're preaching to the choir, my friend. Nothing's gonna top Hakuna Matata or Circle of Life. Those songs are permanently embedded in my brain like a goddamn earworm infestation.
It's a tough act to follow, for sure. But even with those mixed reviews, the movie's raked in a shit ton of cash, almost $500 million worldwide.
Damn, that's enough to make a hyena drool. Guess people can't resist the Lion King, even if it's a CGI cash grab.
It speaks to the power of the story, these characters. The Lion King resonates with audiences on a primal level. It's about family betrayal, power stuff that's been fucking with humans since we crawled out of the trees.
Okay, so we've got this orphaned lion who becomes king. A brotherly rivalry that turns deadly, and a whole lot of CGI fur. But I feel like there's more to unpack here, right? Like, what's the real meat of this story?
Oh, absolutely. We haven't even touched on Mufasa's rise to power, the challenges he faced, the lessons he learned. And then there's Scar's descent into darkness. That's a whole psychological thriller in itself.
Wait, hold your hyenas. We're just getting started. Let's dig a little deeper into this Pride Rock, shall we?
So we left off talking about Mufasa's not-so-privileged upbringing. This wasn't some Disney fairy tale where he was born into royalty and everything was hunky-dory. This dude had to claw his way to the top, literally.
Okay, give me the lowdown. What kind of shit did Mufasa have to deal with?
Picture this little Mufasa swept away by a flood, all alone and scared shitless. He ends up washing up on the shores of another pride's territory.
Oh, shit.
It's like landing in a foreign country where everyone eyeing you like a potential meal.
Damn, talk about a rough welcome wagon. So what happens? Does he get eaten?
Not quite. He meets Taka, who's about the same age, and they kind of form this uneasy alliance. Taka's mom, the queen, takes pity on Mufasa and decides to adopt him. But her husband, the king, well, let's just say he wasn't thrilled about having this outsider cub around.
So Mufasa's got this new family, but it's more like a dysfunctional lion pride therapy session waiting to happen. What's the king's problem?
The king sees Mufasa as a threat. He's worried that Mufasa will challenge Taka for the throne one day. This dude is old school, believes in bloodlines and all that bullshit. He even threatens to kill Mufasa if he doesn't shape up.
Jesus. Talk about a hostile work environment. So what does little Mufasa do? Does he cower in fear?
Hell no, Mufasa's got guts. He challenges Taka to a race with the winner getting to stay in the pride. It's a whole high-stakes life-or-death foot race.
Damn.
But get this, Taka throws the race. He lets Mufasa win so he can stay with their new family.
Hold up. Why the hell would Taka do that? Was he just a nice guy?
Taka's motivations are complicated. He's got this weird mix of admiration and resentment towards Mufasa. He wants to be like him, but he also wants to be better than him. It's fucked up, but it sets the stage for their whole rivalry.
So even as cubs, there's this tension, this underlying competition between them. Kind of like those nature documentaries where lion brothers fight for dominance.
Exactly, and that tension just keeps building as they get older. Remember those badass white lions we mentioned earlier, the outsiders? Well, they attack Mufasa, and the queen and Mufasa ends up killing one of them. Taka sees the whole thing, but runs away like a scared little bitch.
Okay, I can see how that would fuck with Taka's head. Seeing your brother act all heroic while you're running for the hills.
It's more than just that. The white lions, led by this savage motherfucker named Kiros, swear revenge on Mufasa, and guess what? Taka ends up secretly colluding with them later on. He basically sells out his own brother for a chance to get closer to the throne.
Bam, talk about a backstabbing bastard.
Yeah.
No wonder Scar ended up being such a twisted fuck.
Right. But here's the thing, the film doesn't just paint Taka as this one-dimensional villain.
Yeah.
We see glimpses of his good side, too. His love for Sarabi, his moments of regret. But ultimately, his jealousy and ambition consume him. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
So they're trying to humanize Scar. Make him more than just a Disney villain. Give him some depth, some motivation beyond, I want to be king.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that makes this film so interesting. It's not just a black and white good versus evil story. It's about the complexities of family, the choices we make, and how they shape who we become.
Okay, but let's be real. This is a Disney movie. They're not going to go full-on Shakespearean tragedy on us. There's got to be some heartwarming shit in there, right?
Of course, Mufasa's story isn't all doom and gloom. He finds love with Sarabi, becomes a wise and respected leader, and embraces his destiny as king. It's a classic hero's journey, but with a tragic twist.
Yeah, we all know how that tragic twist plays out, thanks, Scar. But hold up, you mentioned earlier that this movie isn't just a prequel. We're also getting some Simba action, right?
That's right. The movie jumps back and forth in time, showing us glimpses of Simba's reign alongside Mufasa's backstory. It's like flipping through a photo album, except the photos are moving and talking.
And who's narrating this whole shebang? Is it Rafiki, that wise-ass baboon?
Rafiki's part of it, but it's actually Kira, Simba's daughter, who's learning about Mufasa's past. Timon and Pumbaa are there too, adding their own brand of comedic commentary. It's like a history lesson, but with more fart jokes.
Okay, that's kind of clever. It ties the prequel and sequel elements together nicely. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, the animation.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, no doubt,
Yeah.
but it's also weird.
Yeah, that hyper-realistic CGI style has been dividing audiences since the 2019 Lion King remake. On one hand, you have this incredible level of detail. The animals look almost real, but on the other hand, it can feel a bit off.
It's like they're too real. You know? Like I'm watching a nature documentary, not a Disney movie. It's missing that cartoonish charm, this suspension of disbelief that makes animation so magical.
It's what they call the uncanny valley effect. When something looks almost human but not quite, it can trigger this creepy, unsettling feeling.
Yeah, that's it. It's like watching a robot try to act human. It's just wrong.
And speaking of things that are a little off the music. Yes, the music. Lin-Manuel Miranda is a goddamn genius. But even he couldn't quite capture the magic of the original Lion King soundtrack. Those songs were iconic, this new soundtrack. It's fine, but it's not going to get stuck in your head for the next 20 years.
You're telling me nothing's going to top Hakuna Matata or Be Prepared? Those songs were bangers. This new stuff. It's like elevator music compared to a rock concert.
I think that's the biggest challenge with a project like this. How do you pay homage to the original without just copying it? It's a tightrope walk between nostalgia and innovation.
And that's where the debate comes in. Some people appreciate the attempt to expand the Lion King universe, explore new characters and storylines. Others feel like it's unnecessary, that the original should be left alone. Like, you can't please everyone.
Exactly. But whether you love it or hate it, Mufasa has definitely sparked a conversation. And at the end of the day, isn't that what good art is supposed to do?
Damn right. It's supposed to make you think, make you feel something, even if that something is, what the hell were they thinking with this animation?
Exactly. It's meant to provoke thought, challenge our perspectives, and maybe even piss us off a little.
And on that note, let's move on to the final act of our deep dive. We've talked story, we've dissected animation. Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. How did this movie perform? All right, you vultures, let's pick apart the carcass of Mufasa, the Lion King, and see what's left. Did this movie rake in the dough, or did it flop harder than a gazelle in a stampede?
Well, despite the mixed reactions, Mufasa managed to claw its way to a hefty box office haul.
Oh, yeah?
Almost $500 million globally.
Damn.
That's enough to buy a whole lot of wildebeest steaks, even for a pride as big as Hollywood.
Damn, that's a shit ton of cash. Makes you wonder if audiences are just suckers for nostalgia or if there's something more to it.
It's a bit of both, really. The Lion King is a cultural touchstone.
Yes, sir.
It's been imprinted on our collective consciousness since we were kids. This film taps into that primal love,
Right.
but it also tries to do something new. Expand the mythology. Give us a deeper understanding of those characters we thought we knew.
But let's be real, some critics weren't exactly roaring with approval, were they? Some folks thought the animation sucked the life out of the story.
The critical reception was a mixed bag. Some praised the film's visual grandeur, Barry Jenkins's directorial style, and the strong performances of the voice cast.
Yeah.
They found the story engaging the themes thought-provoking,
Right.
and the animation, while different, still impressive in its technical prowess.
But others weren't as kind, right? Some thought the hyper-realistic CGI made the characters look like they were stuffed and mounted in a museum diorama.
There were definitely critics who felt that the animation style hindered the emotional impact of the story. They argued that the characters lacked expressiveness, that the overall feel was too sterile and lacked the warmth of traditional animation.
And let's not forget the music. Some critics thought Lin-Manuel Miranda's songs were about as memorable as a fart in the wind.
The music was definitely a point of contention. While some found the new songs pleasant enough, others felt they paled in comparison to the iconic tunes from the 1994 classic. It's a tough act to follow, no doubt.
So where does that leave us? Is Mufasa a worthy successor to the Lion King legacy, or just another cynical cash grab disguised as a heartfelt prequel?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And ultimately, the answer depends on what you're looking for as a viewer. If you're expecting a beat-for-beat remake of the original with the same songs and animation style, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
But if you're open to a fresh perspective, a deeper dive into the characters' psyches, and a willingness to accept a different visual aesthetic, then Mufasa might just surprise you.
For sure. It's all about expectations.
Exactly. It's a film that demands your attention, challenges your preconceived notions, and asks you to engage with its complex themes. It's not perfect by any means, but it's ambitious, thought-provoking, and visually striking.
So the circle of life continues. The Lion King franchise keeps chugging along, finding new ways to milk those nostalgic teats.
And that's what's fascinating about it. This story, these characters, they have a timeless quality that keeps drawing us back.
Yeah.
They speak to something fundamental about the human experience. Our anxieties, our desires, our never-ending quest for power and belonging.
Well said. So after all this deep diving, what's the takeaway for our listeners? What's the nugget of wisdom they should chew on?
I'd say approach Mufasa with an open mind. Don't let the hype or the backlash dictate your experience. Go in with a sense of curiosity, ready to explore a new chapter in this familiar tale. You might just discover something unexpected.
Words to live by, my friend. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this epic Lion King deep dive. Hope you enjoyed the ride, you magnificent bastards. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo. Peace out.